Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 28a. Top of the page with the words Ashkechan Avos Lebanim Lebanim Lavos. The Gemara resumes its discussion of the source for this qualification of relatives from bearing witness for the fact that the verse, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, Deuteronomy 24:16, is not phrased in the singular. In other words, a father shall not be put to death for his child. It is derived that not only are father and child disqualified from bearing witness about one another, but closely related relatives, meaning brothers, are also disqualified from bearing witness about each other's children. Consequently, we found a source for the disqualification of fathers from bearing witness about their children or the children of their brothers, and for this qualification of children from bearing witness about their fathers or their father's brothers. And all the more so, the related fathers, example brothers, are disqualified from bearing witness about each other, as they are certainly more closely related to each other than are a nephew and an uncle. And all the more so, the related fathers, brothers, are disqualified from bearing witness about each other, as they are certainly more closely related to each other than a nephew and an uncle. Banim libanim minalan. But from where do we derive that one brother's children cannot bear witness about the children of the other brother? Banim libanim minalan. Where do we derive that one brother's children cannot bear witness about the children of the other brother? Im kain lichtov kra lo yamusu avos al ben my banim dafilu banim lehadad. The Gemara answers, if so, if the children of one brother can bear witness about the children of the other brother, let the verse write, the fathers shall not be put to death for the child. For what reason is children written in the plural? It is derived from here that even children of brothers are disqualified from bearing witness about each other. Ashkechan banim lehadadi banim lealma minalan. We found a source for the halacha that the children of brothers cannot bear witness about each other. From where do we derive that the children of brothers cannot bear witness together about others? Amarami barchama svarahu kedetanya eina edim nasin zomemin ad shizomu shnehen v'i salkadaitach banim le'alma kasherin nimtza eid zomem neherag be'edus achiv. Rami Barchama says this halacha is based on logical reasoning, and it is not derived from a verse. This is, as it is taught in a Braita, the witnesses are not rendered conspiring witnesses unless they are both rendered conspiring witnesses. And therefore, if it enters your mind that related children are fit to bear witness together about others, a conspiring witness can be found to be executed based on the testimony of his brother, meaning his relative, since a conspiring witness is executed for his testimony only if his co-witness is also rendered a conspiring witness. The testimony of his co-witness, who is a relative, is what causes him to be executed. This is tantamount to relatives bearing witness about each other. Therefore, relatives cannot serve as witnesses together. Amar le Rava v'letamech hadetnan shlosha achin ve'echad mitzaref imahen. Hare elu shalosh eduyos ve'hein edus achas lehazama. Rava said to him, but according to your reasoning, there is a difficulty arising from that which we learned in a Mishnah in Bava Basra 56b. If one occupied land for 3 years, this serves in court as proof that he is the legal owner. If 3 brothers testify to his 3-year possession of the land, with each one testifying separately about 1 year, and one unrelated individual joins with each of the brothers as the second witness, these are considered 3 distinct testimonies and are therefore accepted by the court. If they were to be considered one testimony, it would not be accepted, as brothers may not testify together, but they are considered one testimony for the purpose of rendering them conspiring witnesses. In other words, they are punished only if all 6 of the witnesses are rendered conspiring witnesses and the liability is divided among them. Nimtza eidzo me mishale mamon be'edus achi. Rava states his objection. If so, a conspiring witness can be found to be paying money due to the testimony of his brother, and nevertheless, the brother's testimony is not disqualified. Ela hazama mi alma kaasi achanami hazama mi alma kaasi. Rather, this is clearly not considered tantamount to brothers bearing witness about each other, as the rendering of one as conspiring witness comes not from his co-witness but from others, meaning the witnesses who testify that he had been with them. Here too, it cannot be proven logically that relatives are disqualified from bearing witness together, as the rendering of one as a conspiring witness comes from others. Ela im kain lichtov kra ubein alavos inami hein alavos my ubanim afilu banim le'alma. Rather, the halacha that relatives are disqualified from bearing witness together is derived from a different source. If it is so that relatives can bear witness together, let the verse write, and the child shall not be put to death for the fathers, or they shall not be put to death for the fathers. For what reason is "and the children" written in the plural? This indicates that related children are disqualified from bearing witness even about others. Ashkachan krove ha'av krove ha'em minalan Amar kra avos trei zimni im eno inyan the krove ha'av Tanayahu inyan lekrove ha'em. The Gemara asks, we found a source for the disqualification of paternal relatives. From where do we derive the disqualification of maternal relatives? The Gemara answers, the verse states fathers. Fathers, meaning it states the word twice. This repetition is unnecessary, as the verse could have stated, and the children shall not be put to death for them. If the superfluous word fathers is not needed to teach the matter of paternal relatives, as this matter was already derived from the verse, apply it to the matter of maternal relatives. Ashkachan lechova l'schus benalan. The Gemara asks, we found a source for the halacha that one cannot bear witness to the detriment of his relative. As the verse states, shall not be put to death. From where do we derive that one cannot testify to the benefit of his relative? Amar Kra Yamusu. Yamusu Tre Zimni. Im Eino Inyan Lechova Tene Lidin Schus. The Gemara answers that the verse states the term shall not be put to death twice. If it is not needed to teach the matter of testimony to the detriment of one's relative, as this halacha was already derived from the verse, apply it to the matter of testimony to the benefit of one's relative. Ashkachan bedine nefashot, bedine mamanot minalan. The Gemara asks, we found a source for the disqualification of relatives in cases of capital law, as the verse is referring to execution. From where do we derive this halacha in cases of monetary law? Amar Kra Mishpat Echad Yeh Lachem. Mishpat Hashaveh Lachem. The Gemara answers that the verse states, you shall have one manner of law, Leviticus 24:22, which is interpreted to mean a law that is equal for you. In other words, monetary law and capital law essentially follow the same guidelines. Amar Rav, Achi Abba, Lo Ya'id Li Hu Uvino V'chasano, Af Ani Lo A'id Lo Ani Uvini V'chasani. Rav says, my paternal uncle will not testify about me, neither he nor his son-in-law, in accordance with the ruling of the Mishnah. Furthermore, I will not testify about him, neither I, nor my son, nor my son-in-law. V'amai, Havile shlishi barishon, v'anan sheni tanan, sheni barishon tanan, shlishi barishon lo tanan. The Gemara asks, and why, for example, can Rav's son not testify about the brother of his father's father? The brother of his father's father, his great uncle, basically. But if the testimony of a member of the third generation, with regard to a related member of the first generation, as there is a 2-generation difference between them, and we learn in the Mishnah that a member of the second generation cannot testify about a member of the second generation. For example, one cannot testify about the son of his paternal uncle. We also learn that a member of the second generation cannot testify about a member of the first generation. For example, one cannot testify about his uncle. But we did not learn that a member of the third generation cannot testify about a member of the first generation. My chasano diktani b'masnisan chasam v'no. The Gemara answers in the statement it is taught in the Mishnah, they themselves and their sons-in-law are considered relatives. What is the ruling of the Mishnah concerning the son-in-law referring to? It is referring to the son-in-law of his son. Accordingly, the Mishnah disqualifies the testimony of a member of the third generation about a member of the first generation. Vilisni ben Beno. The Gemara asks, but if so, let the Mishnah teach and his son and the son of his son instead of his son-in-law. This would be a more straightforward manner of conveying the halacha with regard to a member of the third generation testifying about a member of the first generation. Milsa agav orcha kamash balan de Baal ki ishto. The Gemara answers by mentioning his son-in-law. The Mishnah teaches us a manner in passing that with regard to different levels of familial relationships, a husband is like his wife. Therefore, there is no difference between one's son and one's son-in-law. Ve'ela ha dietani Vela haditani Rabchia. Shmona avos shehein esrim ve'arba. Hani talasin v'tartin havi. The Gemara asks, but if the Mishnah is referring to the son-in-law of his son, a difficulty posed by that which Rabchia teaches in a Braita, 8 fathers, 8 principal relatives mentioned in the Mishnah are disqualified, which are 24, including the son-in-law, the son and son-in-law of each. If the Mishnah is referring to one's grandson, these are 32, as the son, son-in-law, and the grandson are each included. Ela le'olam chasano mamish, ve'amai kari le chasan beno, kivan divi alma ka'asi kedor achar tami. The Gemara consequently rejects the explanation that the Mishnah is referring to the son-in-law of one son. Rather, the Mishnah is in fact referring to his actual son-in-law. And why does Rav refer to him as a son-in-law of his son, deriving from his case that a member of the third generation cannot testify about a member of the first generation? Since one's son-in-law comes from outside the family, he is considered a more distant relative than his son, as if he belongs to another generation. Ihachi Havi le shlishi b'sheni v'rav achshar shlishi b'sheni. The Gemara challenges this. If this is so, then the testimony of an individual with regard to the son-in-law of his father is equivalent to that of a member of the third generation with regard to a member of the second generation. And Rav is known to have deemed a member of the third generation fit to bear witness about a member of the second generation. Ela Rav de Amar Karabi Elazar de Tanya Rabbi Elazar Omer Kishem Shachi Abba Lo Yaid Li Hu Uvno Bechasano Kach Ben Achi Abba Lo Yaid Li Hu Uvno Bechasano. Rather, Rav stated his ruling not in according with the Mishnah, but in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, as it is taught in a Braita that Rabbi Elazar says, just as my paternal uncle will not testify about me, neither he, nor his son, nor his son-in-law, so too the son of my paternal uncle will not testify about me, neither he, nor his son, nor his son-in-law. Accordingly, one cannot testify about the grandchild of his brother. Vekati havile shlishi b'sheni b'rav achshar shlishi b'sheni. The Gemara asks, but still, according to Rabbi Elazar, the grandson of one's uncle cannot testify about his great uncle, which is the testimony of a member of the third generation about a member of the second generation. And Rav deemed a member of the third generation fit to bear witness about a member of the second generation. Rav Sofer le kavasi b'chada uplik alai b'chada. The Gemara answers, Rav holds in accordance with Rabbi Elazar's opinion in one case, meaning he disqualifies testimony of a member of the third generation with regard to a member of the second generation, and he disagrees with him in one case, meaning he does not disqualify a testimony of a member of the third generation about a member of the second generation. My time of Rav, the Amar Kra, Lo Yamusu Avos Albanim Uvanim, the Ravos Dor Acher. What is the reason for the opinion of Rav? It is, as the verse states, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, and the children shall not be put to death for the fathers. The phrase for the children and the children is interpreted to include another generation, and the grandchildren of one's brother, and they are also disqualified. For Rabbi Elazar al-Banim, Amar Rachmana Pasuli de Avos Shedi Abanim. Rabbi Elazar derives his opinion from the fact that the Merciful One states for the children, which is interpreted to mean that the ones disqualified from bearing witness about the fathers are cast on the children as well. In other words, anyone who is disqualified from bearing witness about a father is also disqualified from bearing witness about his children. Amar Rav Nachman, Achi chamoti lo ya'id li, ben achi chamoti lo ya'id li, ben achot chamoti lo ya'id li. Tuna, bal achoto ubal achot aviv, ubal achot imo, hein uvnehen v'chatanehen. Rav Nachman says, the brother of my mother-in-law will not testify about me. The son of my brother, the brother of my mother-in-law will not testify about me. The son of the sister of my mother-in-law will not testify about me. And the Tana of the Mishnah also taught this halacha. His sister's husband, and the husband of his father's sister, and the husband of his mother's sister, and his mother's husband, and his father-in-law, and his brother-in-law, they themselves and their sons, and their sons-in-law. This describes the same familiar relationship from perspective of the younger generation. Amar Rav Ashi, ki havinan be'ula, ki bayalan achi chamiv mahu, ben achi chamiv mahu, ben achot chamiv mahu. Rav Ashi said, when we were in Ula's study hall, we were asked, with regard to testifying about the brother of one's father-in-law, what is the halacha? With regard to the son of the brother of one's father-in-law, what is the halacha? With regard to the son of the sister of one's father-in-law, what is the halacha? Amarlan, Tenei tuha, achiv v'achi aviv, v'achi imo, hein uvnehen v'chatanehen. And Ula said to us, you learn the answer to this question in the Mishnah. His brother, and his paternal uncle, and his maternal uncle, and his mother's husband, and his father-in-law, and his brother-in-law, they themselves and their sons, and their sons-in-law, these relationships are the same as those you asked about, from the perspective of the younger generation. Rav arrived at a certain place to buy